I call the honourable member Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge the member who's introduced the bill today, Holly Walker, and also her predecessor in crafting the bill, former MP Sue Kedgley, someone who I got to know quite well in the 49th Parliament on, I think it was the Health Select Committee. And she's a very interesting lady, very friendly person, someone who holds views passionately, and I love passionate people, however wacky those views might be from time to time. And one of the things that I think she did believe very fervently was that government policy should somehow be framed in a hermetically sealed unit with no other outside influence, a values-based approach to policy setting. And it simply isn't the case, Mr. Speaker.
Did you have the experience to be otherwise tapering man in that area?
As we all know, there's another speech going on here. I'm sure it's important to Mr. Miller. As we all know, that's not the case.
Sue Kedgley also believed in aliens.
That's right. And vapour trails, I think, aluminium vapour trails, and no end of conspiracy theories. But I think one of the things that needs to be understood is that in receiving information it's got from both sides of an argument normally. I think the Speaker of the House has aided this debate today by issuing a press release identifying the, wait for it, 15 external parties to Parliament that have access cards to the parliamentary precinct, and it contains such luminaries as 2 former MP spouses, the fellow that does the prayer breakfast every Wednesday morning, and one could consider whether or not that person is on a mission and therefore should register as a lobbyist. I think he's paid by the Methodist Church to be here. Very noble intent. But if you look at the nature of the bill,
Order.
One might question, if one looks at the nature of the bill, one might question the breadth, the absolute breadth of the definition of a lobbyist and the definition of lobbying. And I think the Attorney-General has provided, that fine member has provided something of a very forthright opinion, which I should quote from now. He has concluded, quote, that the bill appears to limit freedom of expression as affirmed by Section 14 of the Bill of Rights Act. The limitation cannot be justified under Section 5 of that Act. And I think that's a very profound statement. But the one that resonated with me was in his summary where he said it risks creating a chilling effect for average New Zealanders who may fear criminal sanctions for merely communicating with a Member of Parliament. Well, members will remember when we last heard the words chilling effect, and that was around the Electoral Finance Act. And I'm fascinated because when the criticisms of the potential risks that this bill has, the Green members are sagely looking and saying, no, that won't happen, that won't happen. But it sure as heck happened to the Electoral Finance Act when it was passed, and that had a chilling effect on democracy. But I certainly don't question the noble intent that Holly Walker and Sue Kedgley have in bringing this bill to the House, and I don't believe it was anything like the sinister intent to stifle freedom of speech in this country that was the basis for bringing the electoral finance legislation before the House. But nevertheless, it may yet have that effect. Mr Ockenvold has quoted Keith Locke. I want to quote the other luminary in the Attorney-General's opinion, and that is First President of the United States, George Washington, when he was talking about the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, quoted that if the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter, like sheep to the slaughter. And I think we need to think very carefully about that impact. Yes, they laugh. They laugh. The Green member laughs. But when Todd McClay sought to interject on Holly Walker, what did she say? Shh. And I think that sums it up completely. Because I think freedom of expression and freedom of speech in this House is the number one right that every Member of Parliament has. Freedom from the Crown, freedom from the public, the independence to be able to listen and say and share the ideas on a bill or on a policy or on a supply is absolutely fundamental. And in considering very carefully, the Government Administration Committee should consider very carefully whether those rights will be eroded if this bill is passed.
I call the honourable member Charles Chauvel.